One thing that can cause a lot of conflict when people are separating is deciding who's going to get to stay in the house and who's going to have to leave, because often it isn't a viable option for you to continue living together while you work out your family law issues. Basically, so long as one of your names is on either the lease or the piece of property that you own together, it's a family residence and you're both entitled to stay there after separation, regardless of actually whose name is on the lease or whose name is on the title to the property. So the question is, how do we decide who gets to stay even though we're both technically allowed to? Because what you're entitled to do and what works for your family isn't really necessarily the same thing. So your options are pretty much the same as they are in any other family law dispute, which is that you either work something out between yourselves, either just the two of you or using lawyers, negotiation, some dispute resolution process to resolve that, or you take it to court and you ask the court to make that decision for you. And that's always a gamble because you're taking the decision out of your hands. You don't have ownership of that anymore. So if you do take it to court, they're going to want to consider, first of all, is this a case where it is necessary for the court to order somebody to leave the home? Because sometimes it's just not a serious enough situation where a court order is warranted. Sometimes, okay, things are a little uncomfortable, maybe, this isn't the ideal situation, but it's not so severe that you couldn't, in theory, continue living together. So that's the first thing that they're going to look at. And sometimes there's alternative options, like there's a basement suite that somebody could move into for the time being while you work out the details of your separation. And then the next thing that the court is going to want to know is if you're the one who's asking to be the one that stays in the home, or is it really most inconvenient for you to be the one that moves out, or would it actually be more inconvenient for your spouse to have to leave? So they'll take into consideration a few factors like what are your financial circumstances, respectively? Can you afford to stay in the home, or can you afford to find new accommodations that would be similar to that? They want to take into consideration, are there any alternative living arrangements for either of you? Maybe there are family or friends who are willing to offer you a space and your spouse it doesn't have that same opportunity. Or maybe there's something special about your home and the way that it's used that makes it more convenient for one party to stay. Like if there's a home-based business that isn't readily mobile, that can be one of the factors as well. And then, of course, the court always considers the best interests of any children involved. So if one person is the parent who's going to be looking after the kids most of the time, is it going to be fair or convenient for the kids to have to move out and have the parent who's parenting less of the time be the one that gets to stay by themselves in the home?